Welcome to Tote, another episode, another racing preview, a huge weekend of racing over in Ireland. We're really looking forward to it, the Dublin Racing Festival. I'm joined by two brilliant Irish jockeys, one former, one current, in Danny Mullins and Paddy Flood. Great to have you with you guys. We'll get stuck into the action. We'll start with the first race, which is the 2 mile 6 furlong race. Pretty much sets up what will be something for the Albert Bartlett at Cheltenham or the Ballymore. Danny, I'll start with you. You've got a ride in this, two of the Manellas that are in it, Manella, Cocoona, that you ride.
Yeah, I ride Manella Cocoona here. He won a 2.5 mile maiden in Navan. I don't know how much strength and depth there was to that race, but he won quite impressively and galloped out to the line fairly strongly. So I'd imagine 2.6 will be no issue for him here. And hopefully he'll get involved. It's probably going to be a competitive enough race. I suppose a lot of the form is going to tie in with the Naas Grade 1 earlier in the year. And Hollow Games was third that day. Grand Jury was second. But I think with a clear run, Hollow Games will be able to reverse that form. And he's probably the one that I think will take a lot of the beating here.
Do you agree with that, Paddy? Obviously, Hollow Games is a likely favourite in this.
Yeah, he's going to be favourite. As Danny says, probably with a clear run, he would have finished in front of Grand Jury last day. But I'm going to go with Grand Jury, and I'm just kind of hoping that Henry's horses just weren't really hitting form at the time. And I'm just banking on that, Dublin Racing Festival, what are we, 4 or 5 weeks out from Cheltenham, that he should be really, firing at the minute. I think Rachel will probably jump him out good and handy on the speed, and it's going to be a good competitive little race. Now, it's a tough race to pick the winner, but I'm going to stick with Grand Jury, just banking on Henry's horses hitting a bit of form.
I think another one I'd like to give a mention to, Luke, is I can't see him winning the race, but Freedom to Dream is a huge price. Like, you're going back through his form. He's a solid second on heavy ground over 2.7 in Limerick. One he's made nicely in Punchestown. The one that catches my eye is that second to Appreciate It in a bumper in Leopardstown last year. I don't think he can win, but at that kind of price, he could run a big race.
Definitely one for the play spot punters, probably to grab a place. We've got play spot insurance as well at Leopardstown this Saturday and Sunday, so one to make the most of with them kind of picks. And either you can answer this really. Where do you see, if someone who wins this race, if they win it well, would you be going to the Albert Bartlett or would you be going to the Ballymore? Maybe Danny to answer.
Yeah, I think, I suppose there's options. If the race is truly run and a horse hits the line very well and looks like a good stayer, they could have a go there. But you can't rule out the Martin Pipe in Cheltenham as well. That's a 2.5 race, usually, a good gallop around there. So if a horse can sneak in there, I think 145 is the handicap mark, top of the handicap for that. So you could get a horse running well, finishing third or fourth in this, that could be going with that angle. But usually it's the Albert Bartlett from this 2.6 Grade 1 at the Dublin Racing Festival.
Same for you as well, Paddy. Would you agree with that, Albert Bartlett, the most likely?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think the points Danny made there were quite good. Nothing to add to that.
Brilliant. So we'll go on to the second race. Obviously, the Juvenile Hurdle. We pretty much know the Triumph will be the ideal destination for a lot of these. Danny, you've got a ride in this, but the one I'm really interested in asking you about as well as your own ride is Vauban from the Willie Mullins camp, who is certainly one of those that's catching plenty of attention.
Yeah, you're looking at his form behind Pied Piper and what he'd achieved in Cheltenham. He absolutely bolted up. And if this fella, can sharpen up his jumping from that maiden hurdle, which he should do, he's going to be the one you have to beat. But Phil Dore was very impressive in Leopardstown at Christmas, had been good in a battle at Fairyhouse where he got on top late as well. Then you can't forget about Claire Allen, who won nicely a maiden in Leopardstown at Christmas, comes from the same stable in France that Esport Allen did a couple of years ago. So this is a proper Triumph trial. Maybe Pied Piper had maybe a softer race in Cheltenham the last day. Whatever wins this is going to be a leading contender. I'd say will go favourite for the Triumph Hurdle in Cheltenham.
And what catches your eye, Paddy, in this one?
I like Phil Dore. Just experience-wise, 3 runs under the belt now. Has won around Leopardstown. Willie's horse, Vauban, obviously second to Pied Piper. I'm not too sure how good that race was in Cheltenham, to be honest. And I think he got an exceptionally good ride by Davy Russell. When the horse made a mistake down the back, they were probably just going a touch too quick anyways. And he sat and waited and sat and waited, and the horse came back alive underneath him. Now he won as he liked, but I don't know if there was much substance to it. But look, Phil Dore's done nothing wrong. 3 out of 3, so I'll stick with that.
I think Davy Russell probably have a bit of a job in his hands picking. Do you think if Phil Dore and Pied Piper both make it to the Triumph?
I presume so, but if Pied Piper didn't do what he did in Cheltenham, he probably, I'd say Phil Dore was probably their main Triumph hope. Now there is talk that one could go to the Supreme and one could go to the Triumph, but yeah, I can't see that happening. But I can see Phil Dore, as I said, 3 runs under his belt. There's 1 run around Leopardstown, and going to be very hard to beat there.
Just another one there, Luke, on that race. Paddy made an interesting point about Phil Dore's experience, and of the ones that are a bit bigger of a price, Vadelaide for Willie Mullins, Rachel Blackmore rides here, has that run over hurdles in France, and it's been pitched in here at the deep end, but with that experience of jumping in France, 33 to 1 again. They're bigger picks. It's easy for us to sit here and pick favourites, but these are the kind of ones that could pop up. I think this might have been the race that Apple's Jade won first run with Johnny Burke for Willie a few years ago. So Willie is pitching them in here to see if they can book their ticket for Cheltenham, and Vadelaide with that experience could be an each way bet.
Excellent stuff. Has that one been going well at home or anything to pick that one out?
Yeah, seems in good order at home, but running in a grade 1 first time, you'd want to be working well at home.
Yeah, without doubt, definitely. We'll move on to another grade 1, the Irish Arkle, which will be an exciting race. Some really nice types in this one, and it'll be a tight feel in terms of the betting as well. But Blue Lord probably is just going to head it. Danny, another one from the Mullins camp.
Yeah, Blue Lord won well first time in Fairy House, backed that up nicely in Naas, where the few fences in the straight were taken out, and probably beat a 2.5 mile horse running over 2 miles that day. So I think that the Fairy House run of the first day is probably a stronger line of form. And Rivière de Tel doesn't get quite as much of an allowance here. She ran at Christmas and got £13 from Fernie Hollow. The fact that she's gone from a 4-year-old up to being a 5-year-old, she only gets 9 here. But, Fernie Hollow, you'd like to think he might be a bit better than Blue Lord, but he won't be with us for the rest of the season. So it'll be interesting to see Rivière de Tel. I think her jumping is very slick, and well, I'd like to see Willie winning it. I think Rivière de Tel is really going to put it up to them here.
And which one for you, Paddy? Obviously, Joseph O'Brien's got a couple of nice ones in this, as well as the Mullins and Gordon Elliott horses.
Yeah, look, Blue Lord's going to be favoured in it. And for me, I haven't seen enough of him yet. And I haven't seen him beat a good enough horse yet to really have him at that short of price. Rivière de Tel, she's got a lot of experience now, and she is only 5. But, I know she's not getting the £14. She's still getting 9, she'll be getting 14 off an Arkle favourite. And she ran him close. And she acts on the track. If I had a pick of a ride in it, I'd ride her.
Excellent stuff. Should be a really good race, that as well. And obviously with a view going on to the Arkle for our 10 to follow players who are eyeing up the big races there. We'll go on to the first of the handicaps at the Dublin Racing Festival. There's plenty in this. 24 have been declared. Danny, you ride Authorised Art for Willie.
Yeah, I take the ride on Authorised Art here. I've ridden him a couple of times this year, and I thought after riding him his second last run in Punchestown, a step up and trip would really suit him, and I think he acquitted himself quite well in Leopardstown over Christmas. His first run over 3 miles. Well, you couldn't say maybe he's one that's going to win this race. I think he's got a decent chance here again. He's 20 to 1. He's slightly bigger price. Panda Boy is up £6 for winning quite well in that race when he beat Winter Fog the last day. Had been a little bit under the radar, hadn't really hit the frame until that Leopardstown run. And Good Time Johnny won quite snugly in Leopardstown the last day as well. Now got £9 from it, but it's a typical Leopardstown handicap. It's just very hard to put your finger on one.
There's a bit of class as well, isn't there, Paddy? People like the Jam Man, Dalla de Pictons who are in there, some decent names who'll go on to the festival and be competitive.
Very much like Danny said, it's your typical Leopardstown handicap. You know, you could close your eyes, stick a pin in it. Tough race. The horse I like in it is Priory Park for Edward O'Grady. His horse are really hitting their straps of late. Won a 2.5 mile handicap there the last day, so it's got a handicap experience, knows the hustle and bustle of Leopardstown. Stepping up and trip, I don't see it being a problem. I think it's around 8 or 9 to 1, so I think it's a bit of value there.
Exactly, definitely one for the place punters. And we'll move on to the big one, the Irish Gold Cup, which is a 10 to follow bonus race this weekend. So extra points up for grabs if you're a 10 to follow player. If you can find the winner or the second place, get some points as well. Danny, I'll start with you. You rode Kenboy to win this race last year. Obviously, you're not on board this time around, but does he go there with a good chance from what you've seen at home in the last few weeks?
I think so. You know, his run in Leopardstown at Christmas was very good. He seems to be a Leopardstown specialist. He was only beaten 3/4 of a length behind Galvin and a Plutard. I'd say the race is going to be run to suit. Frodon will probably jump out and go a gallop. Kenboy will be there about on the premises. But as Kenboy's getting a bit older, having a bit of company for the first mile of the race will be no harm, just to draw the sting out of them so it won't be that much of a sprint finish. And Manila Indo, Puppy Power takes the ride here. I think the fact that Rachel won't be available for the Gold Cup in Cheltenham, the owners were keen to have someone get a bit of experience that can ride him in Cheltenham. Himself and Frodon went at it early around Kempton and just fell apart. But I think Manila Indo is a horse I'd have my eye on for the Gold Cup. I don't think he's at his best midwinter. It's not until he gets into the spring that this fella comes into his own. Asterion Furlong, big day pending. When, where, who knows? You're getting down through the rest of them, and you have plenty of other question marks. Paddy will probably have a better view on some of those.
Yeah, go for it, Paddy. Asterion Furlong, is he a good enough jumper to win a race like this?
Listen, the horse he's not that much of a kamikaze. It's just even when he gets tired, he just lays down. I mean, around Punchestown takes some jumping, and he went round the big handicap last year. You know, he never missed a beat, and he won on the bridle. So the engine is there. Not too sure he can win an Irish Gold Cup around Leopardstown, because I don't see them going too quick, and I can't see him just picking them off easy. You know, I think it will be set up for Frodon and Kenboy. I think the two of them will jump out together there, roll away, not cut each other's throats. And, you know, to be fair to Frodon, him and Milena Indo went at it the last day, but he stayed going. You know, Milena Indo didn't. For me, looking at the race, it's unbelievable seeing Jack Kennedy not on Manila Indo, you know, after winning the Gold Cup on him. And, you know, he's obviously contracted by, well, not contracted, but he's Gordon's jockey, so he's got a right deal to work. Who's got good form around Leopardstown, but I don't know, is he the horse he once was? Probably not. For me, I'd love to see Danny on Kenboy. I think he really suits him. I think he throws the reins on his neck and just lets him at it. I'm just gonna nudge for Frodon. I can just see him, you know, filling his lungs there from third last, jumps to second last well, and being very hard to pass.
Good to have a shout for the British horses. Danny, tell us about that one with Kenboy. Were you ever in the discussion, or is it just given to Paul when it's the number one in the race there?
Yeah, Paul got his pick there. I was hoping Paul would like to have a go on Asterion. You know, maybe I was trying to convince him Leopardstown, there's only one fence in the last 3 furlongs, that he'd really have his chance there. But Paul wanted to have a go on Kenboy, and he's probably thinking like me, Leopardstown, this is Kenboy's Gold Cup, and I think, yeah, he's got a big chance in it. Excellent
stuff. We'll move on to the other handicap, the second one. Again, there's plenty of Mullins runners in, so I'll start with you, Danny. Mount Leinster is likely favourite and should go with a good chance, I imagine.
Yeah, you'd like to think so. You know, these big handicaps, a great starting point to find a winner is picking an unexposed novice. This fella's only had the 3 runs over fences. His jumping has been maybe a mixed bag from time to time, but in fairness to him, he gets from A to B fast over a fence, and that's what you want. You know, he was third behind hot in Colours. So I suppose if you're going having a few quid on Mount Leinster, you'll be watching the Arkle closely earlier in the day to see how strong that form is the last day. And I think he's the most likely winner, but is there much value for a competitive handicap? Maybe not. I'm looking down through it, and I think Batsio is a horse that will deliver on a day like this. Shane O'Callaghan, the decent £7 claimer, has ridden a few winners lately, and I think with only 10 stone 4, he's got a nice weight. He could be the one I'd have a go with here.
And Paddy, is there anything that sort of catches your eye in this? I sort of have a little bit of wave on the sea as being a horse with a bit of class, but might be carrying a bit too much to win this.
Yeah, there's nothing really stands out in this. It's a race. I don't think there's much value in it, and it could be a race to just sit back and watch. Mount Leinster for me is probably the most likely winner in it. He has won around Leopardstown before, so albeit not over fences. Like Danny said, he gets from A to B over his fence. He's nothing too flash. Wave of the Sea it has a bit of class, but he's also got the weight to carry. If you're looking for value, it's very hard to split even the ones with the lower weights. So look, I think Mount Leinster is the likely winner, and I'm struggling really, to see what's going to be second, third in it. It could be, it could be a blanket over the rest of them.
Exactly, might be best to, like Danny says, look at the Irish Arkle and see what goes on there, and that might give you a better judgment later on in the day.
Yeah, and like if Willie has a couple of winners early in the day and the confidence is up, well then Danny knows by riding, if you go out, you have to run Paul Road 2 or 3 winners, he'll go out and win them easy, but if they're struggling, it could be another story.
Exactly, and if that is the case, then I imagine there'll be a lot of confidence going into the bumper at the end of the day on Facile Vega, Danny, which is already well talked about, and could be one of the bets of the day, I imagine.
Yeah, he could be. And on the performance in Leopardstown at Christmas, you'd have to go to him as your starting point for the race. But it's what unites us. Was very impressive in Navan also, and you couldn't rule him out. And going down through some of the others, I liked the Big Die-In, but I find it interesting that Barry O'Neill has sided with Paul Nolan's horse, Sandor Clegane, if I've pronounced that properly.
We'll go with that.
he's won in Punchestown in December, and Barry has ridden the Big Die-In twice to win. I know Barry would probably ride a little bit more for Paul Nolan, but I think it's fairly noteworthy that he has gone with Paul's horse.
Would you follow that as well, Paddy? It's often as much about the jockeys as it is about the horses in these bumpers when there's less experience from the horse's point of view anyway.
Yeah, look, there's not a bad jockey in this race, really. I think what Danny's kind of saying is that it's interesting he didn't pick the big, look, Derek O'Connor rides the Big Die-In, so there's not much between them boys. But Facile Vega, for me, looked exceptional, winning his bumper in Leopardstown. I thought he was a really, really nice horse. It's what unites us, has a beautiful pedigree. Same thing, one snug in Navan. I think this is a really good bumper. I think it's a really, really good bumper. I think it's going to I think if Facile Vega comes out and wins this 2 or 3 lengths, he's favoured for champion bumper, and I expect him to do so. But I think this is a really hot race.
Excellent stuff. So that wraps up our sort of preview for the Saturday of the Dublin Racing Festival. It's going to be a brilliant day of action. So join us for more from Danny and Paddy for day 2.